We're standing on the corner waiting for Wonder Woman to come and pick us up for a Pedibike tour.
People have this as their territory and they made a ton of money. So they needed a bank to kind of display how much money they had. This was it. This was the bank. The treasury. You go in there, it looks just like a bank lobby, and then where you would see, you know, the cashiers, you could be in there, and that would be the apartments and business offices for all the people who worked at the bank.
Oh
wow. But now
It's coffee?
Huh?
No, it's coffee.
Well, there's but girlfriend trips are always
they're awesome.
Yes, they are.
We love it.
But yeah, this church is still a running church. 1793.
Wow.
Started basic giving services, and I was telling them about the coquina here. You can see this coquina stone. It's actually a limestone that the Native Americans found across the way on the island in a quarry.
Oh,
And
wow.
so they started using it for building purposes, and the Spanish came here in 1565 and decided to adapt it into their building. And so they would go across all the way onto the island, excavate this really difficult limestone. It honestly is really hard to break. It breaks in these own little, like all those different sizes is what you could get from when you hit it. So the actual stone itself was so strong that people could not break it down. It didn't deteriorate over time. That's why it's still around today.
Oh,
It's
wow.
actually in its natural habitat. This is where it's from. So it seems to kind of grow and move as well.
Wow.
It's a very,
Is there any left?
it's all over the city, but they do not. The quarry's still there. They do not touch it. They over excavated it, of course. I believe in like 200 years, they took over 300 tons of it.
Wow.
But you'll see a lot of this throughout the city, and so that just shows you that it's definitely from the 17 and 1800s. They did not use it past then. So,
Man, we're in the beautiful light right now.
And right here you have the governor's house. Like I said, this was the capital of Florida. So the governor lived here. They had 5 separate governors in their time here in the south. Now you can see this is all coquina too.
Yeah.
Now, they've covered it in a lot of it to, you know, for basically preserving. Because some parts of it were a little less, like they put in the new windows, right? So they had to put that around.
I love it.
Yeah, this is all coquina, and you'll see this a lot in the city where they have covered the coquina, but underneath it's still the original. And that's why a lot of our shops and businesses look newer, and it's only because there's things and they put a little like work, you know, things on top of it to make it look glossy, but it's still the original building. So here is Flagler College, actually. Flagler College originally opened as a hotel. 1886. Augustine. Flagler, who was a very wealthy man, was in business with Rockefeller in the oil business. He decided that this was going to be the place to open his first hotel. He came here on his way down, and he was just like, this is it. This is where all my friends from the East Coast are going to come to the weekend. So he built this hotel. It was considered to be the most extravagant, expensive hotel in the world at the time of its conception. And it also was the first building in the world to be built with electricity. Thomas Edison, who was his friend, personally built the 2 generators that ran the electricity in this building. So it's pretty historically important in that way as well. So I like to take people here to the grand dining room. I know it's hard to see these windows. This is bulletproof glass on the outside.
Really?
They do not clean it, which is the most frustrating thing because you can't see it on the outside, and a lot of people do tours of the outside of it. But this is all done by Tiffany and Company. Tiffany and Company, before they were jewelers, stained glass windows and their lamps. And so they were commissioned to do 89 windows throughout this whole building, but the ones that we can see the closest and, you know, they're all together is the dining room. So it is part of the most expensive stained glass collection in the world. It's $100 million plus. for this. So this is why it's covered with bulletproof glass on the outside. If something was to go wrong, but you can take a tour of the school. It is beautiful inside. You can see how extravagant it is. Look through here. You see the windows on the other side? Mm-hmm. Up the above ones. You just see how really beautiful they are. I don't know if you can see that at all.
See a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're amazing. Honestly, it's just unbelievable. And so all throughout the building, you'll see all these Tiffany and Company windows that are really ultra expensive. So this is the kitchen area from the back. This is where the staff work. The immediate staff that on call. This is the smokestack that they built that burnt the coal that ran the generators that Thomas and Edison. So it is no longer in use, but it is here for historical purposes. And you can imagine in 1886 there would have been hundreds of people here. This was a 5-star hotel. So they would have had people's maids and courtiers all with them, their valets all with them, helping them run the ship. So it was a very high-class hotel. You had royalty staying here. You had presidents, famous people. Anybody came here at one point during the time of this days of glory, which were all the way until the Great Depression. So, from 18, and what you had to do you had to get a membership. You had to pay for a whole year to stay, even if you were only here for a few months. So it's very expensive to have a membership. From the inside out. Yeah. Flagler himself. Now this is a college. It's only been a private college for about 60 years. It was a women's college primarily at first, and then it became a co-ed college. But it's a beautiful campus. You can always walk in and pick up tours, even if you don't take a tour. The fountain, the original fountain.
So they built onto this as the years have gone on, right? I mean, because it wasn't this big.
No, that's how big it was. They have
That side was that big?
Yes, it was a 500-room hotel.
Oh my
There was
God.
nothing like that at the time. So
Wow.
even the first kind of resort hotel where
Uh-huh.
people would enjoy all these different amenities included with their stay. So this hotel, it was also nicknamed the Millionaires Hotel. It was a fun hotel. It had the largest indoor pool in the world at the time. It also had an indoor bowling alley, and it had a casino. So this is where everyone hung out. Even the people who stayed at that hotel would come here. You got the pool, and he was the first to do that in this area where people would just come to one hotel just to use the amenities and not actually stay. They weren't really hotels like that at the time, so he was very smart about that. Very beautiful building. So it was called the Millionaires Hotel because you had to be a millionaire to stay here. It was that expensive. And it almost cost $1 million to build. So this building is all poured concrete. It's the largest building they ever...
Even the red part? Is that like a...
That's all the original. This is all red clay.
Red clay?
These were the bell towers.
Uh-huh.
This is all etched out of red clay, the original red clay that it was built from. And this is all poured concrete. So this was the largest building they had used poured concrete with ever at that time in 1886. And they have done a really good job keeping it up, but this is exactly what it looked like originally. You can look at pictures when
How
it
old
was
is
built.
this building again?
It's from 1886.
This building?
Yes. And this one's 1889 or 90, but this one has had some things done on the front. This one and this one, these are exactly how it looks. If you look at a picture of the day when it was very popular, maybe in 1890, the fountain's still, this is the fountain, everything looks, the gardens are here, it looks very much the same. With the original, place you come in, with your horse and carriage, and get your luggage, and you can go to the hotel.
So grand. It is grand.
This is Pedro Menendez Aviles. He is a Spanish explorer that brought all the people over from Spain to start this as a territory. So the laborers, the masonry, all the people who built this city and made it part of the territory of Spain. He was the one that captained the ship. So he's very popular and definitely famous in Spain for that. But yeah, this is now a museum. So these all closed down during the Great Depression, and because this city was fueled on that money that was lost, in the Great Depression. So a lot of these places could no longer run, and they all closed. This place closed shortly, and one of the men who did not lose his money in the Great Depression, he was a textilist, Leitner. He bought this for $250,000.
Oh my goodness.
1949.
What?
Which was a steal because of it costs almost $1 million to build. And he had his own personal museum. He always wanted to have a museum, so this was his museum and his party house. He did not have any family, so when he died, he donated to the city with the stipulation that they always keep a museum with his name on it.
Wow.
So it is now the City Hall offices. So if you need to get a business license or a marriage license, you come here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the pool, where the largest indoor pool was, it is the same building. Nothing has changed. There's just no water in it. It's a very strange pool, but it's now a cafe and a venue for weddings and different events. But you can always freely walk there in the courtyard and check it out. The museum is interesting, but it's got a lot of different collectibles and things in old time, like colored glass and stained glass windows. So this is the last hotel that Henry Flagler built here in St. Augustine before he went further south to the Palm Coast to build more hotels. He actually got involved with the railroad, and he spent his fortune to build the railroad south. When he became part of the railroad here, they did not want to spend any money to go down south because of the terrain was treacherous. It was a lot of water, a lot of insects, it took forever and a lot of money. He spent his money, his fortune, on building the railroad. So because of him, places like Tampa and Miami, Fort Lauderdale exist because he was insistent and spent his money on it. But yeah, this is the only running hotel we have here that Henry Flagler built. It is called Casa Monica. That is the original name. It was shortly when the Great Depression happened, it closed. It was the federal courthouse for a time being. Then it was an apartment complex, and then a hotel group came and bought it and turned it back into the hotel. It's a beautiful hotel inside. It really gives you a great example of how amazing it's like a Moorish style that was popular in Spain for a period that he adapted in a lot of his hotels. So when you go in there, you will see just how luxurious and beautiful.
And I guess you can go in, anybody can walk in and just walk around.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, you can go in real quick if you want.
You want to go in real quick and look?
Just go in real quick, they don't care. Here's Trinity Parish. Trinity Parish right here is 1821. So Tiffany and Company was here far before they did Henry Flagler's hotel, because they did all the windows in this church. And it is one of 3 collections that exist in the world that are personally signed by the artists. So this is the side. And I believe it's sponsored because there's a lot of blinking lights here. I don't know how to explain it. We fixed the lights, and then 2 days later, they just start blinking. It's very eerie. And the people, the electricians who work here in the city, they don't know. Then they have to keep fixing it, and they're like, I did my job.